Now, a lady after my own heart, Pauline Hanson, was able to spend time with my favourite sport in Australia. I would have been there, but alas, a little bit of lockdown means I couldn't. She was at the Townsville 500. Another version of it will happen this weekend. Pauline, how did you find supercars in Townsville this weekend?
Absolutely exhilarating. First time I have ever been to one, Paul, and it was fantastic. And I was fortunate enough to have a ride in SCT Logistics car, and that was Smith.
Yep, and Jack Smith, the BJR
it
car.
Was absolutely fantastic. Yep, well, you know him, yes. So it's Jack Smith, and he just turned 22 on Friday. Anyway, he gave me a couple of trips around the track, and the first time was okay, and the second time I thought he's gone faster. So as soon as I got back and I had a look at it, and yes, he did. So the first round was 216, the second round was 242 k's an hour, and they said, "Were you scared?" And I said, "Of course I was bloody scared, but the fact is I wasn't game to say or do anything because I didn't want to put him off his job, but I had trust and faith in him." So it was bloody scary, but I sat there with a grin on my face all the time, so wow.
Good on you. Well, I love it. Look, I hope it's in your veins now. There's lots of events all over the country. I look forward to seeing you trackside at one of them. And good to see you got a chance to have a chat to the great Dick Johnson as well. But alas, while I could talk supercars all night, I want to talk about a couple of other things. You are pushing hard, and I think this is a great idea, where we have to have a quarantine facility for people to work on farms. Put simply, not enough Australians are willing to move to do anything. There are people like Pacific Islands workers who want to do it. How can we make it happen?
Okay, well, I just visited a farm today up at Ayr, and they had to actually make their own quarantine facilities on the farm because by the time they bring them over, these are foreign workers, then pay for part of their flights to get here, then they've actually got to pay for 2 weeks quarantine. It was just looking at 30 people, they were looking at $90,000. So they put into their own quarantine, and they bought a house, bought some dongas. It's cost them $500,000 to have the quarantine there at their own place on the farm there. So it's a hell of an expense to them, which expense that they're going to have to pay back because these are young lads. These are guys around 30 years of age taking it over from the family, but it's bloody tough on them, and then they're flat out getting workers. And what's so annoying, Paul, is that they advertise for people to come there. Aussies may turn out just to get the name crossed off, turn up for a couple of hours, don't come back, or it's too hard for them. I'm sick of hearing this about businesses and farmers trying to get workers to pick the fruit or go and work in cafes. They can't get anyone. What is the hell wrong with Australians? Are they become so bloody lazy or on the dole they don't want to work? Because I've had a gutful of it, and I just say, you know, what is the government going to do about it?
So also, I wanted to get your view on this ad that the federal government has put out. It's about a young person on a ventilator, the message being anyone can catch COVID. Here's part of the ad. What do you think?
I'm not impressed with it at all. I think you're still heading down the track of the fear-mongering. Remember when COVID first broke out, they said, oh, we're going to have 150,000 deaths in the country? You know, we had, okay, they say, due to COVID, 900 deaths. There was a motorcyclist who was killed in a crash, and because he tested positive for COVID, it was a COVID death. We've had people that are suicide, but that was a COVID death. We have not been told the truth, Paul, and I'm sick and tired of this. This is fear-mongering to try and get people, force people to have the vaccinations. As I said, go and do your research. People must know what they're putting into the bodies, and I'm hearing different stories about the vaccination and what they're actually having. But that's up to individuals, person's right to have it, but I will not stand by and see the government put fear into hearts of people and force them to have the vaccination with vaccine passports, with jobs, you're going to lose your job and all the rest of it. I think it's wrong, and I'm aware that there are people with health issues, the aged, the sick, the feeble, those with respiratory problems may have problems if they do get COVID, but don't force healthy people to go and have this with these ads that I think are disgusting.
Also, just our mate Palaszczuk, she claims she has to leave the country. She has to go to Japan. She said it herself, that of course it would be a disaster if she wasn't able to go and get the Olympics for Brisbane in 2023. Here's part of what she said, and I want to get your reaction.
It has been made very clear by John Coates that it would be a disaster if the head of Queensland did not go.
But who cares about the disaster of losing your business or not being able to be with a relative as they die?
What a load of hogwash. An absolute disaster if she doesn't go. John Coates is protecting his own job and he gets over $800,000 a year. So John Coates definitely wants to see the Olympics come here. And I've heard that if anyone else is bidding for this, they're only third world countries and the Olympics won't go there anyway. So there's no chance of her actually losing it by the sounds of it. But the whole fact is, what an absolute joke. She shuts down borders. She stops people from operating their businesses, losing their incomes, their jobs, and stopping people from actually access to hospitals to see their loved ones being buried. And then she says, I have to go. What an absolute joke. Well, if you're going to go over there, Palaszczuk, well, then make sure that you stop and pick up some Australians on the way back in your jet that can't get back home. That might be a plus, the only plus I can see of you going.
Hallelujah. What a great idea. Take a big jet and bring some people back. Pauline, I'm so glad you got that beautiful supercars energy in you. It was cool to see. And again, I look forward to seeing your trackside, mate. All the best. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Bye.
Good on you. How good is she? Pauline Hanson.